This episode of Warp 5 is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek FM at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the non-profit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join in on the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode or any other, please join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, that's B-A-B-E-L, into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
Hi, this is Gary Graham, Ambassadors of All in Star Trek. You're listening to Warp 5.
How we doing, Trip? Ready when you are. Prepare for warp.
Course laid in, sir. Request permission to get underway. Let's go.
Welcome, Boomers, to another episode of Warp 5, Trek FM's dedicated Star Trek Enterprise podcast. I am your host, Patrick Devlin, and I am joined today, as always, by Brandi Jackola. Brandi, how are you?
I'm fine, Patrick. How are you this fine day?
Tired. Very, very tired. But we are also joined by our other lovely host, Brandon-Shea Mutala.
Hey, how's it going, Patrick?
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Patrick?
Oh, boy.
Is this
Patrick.
an inside joke that I am not party to?
If it is, I'm not in it either.
What's
Oh,
wrong?
okay.
What's wrong?
So, I'm so confused. How are you?
Good, good. What's wrong with Patrick?
What? There's no Y in my name.
Patrick, I know. So what is it?
What is my name?
Yeah,
Patrick.
Patrick. Well, what's the difference?
Huh?
What's the difference? But Patrick,
Tomato, tomato?
tomato, tomato. This is going back. This is like clearly my joke is falling flat here.
Yeah, I don't understand where we're going with this.
One is your name, the other is not.
Oh! Data. Sorry.
We were tweeting about Dr. Pulaski earlier, and Patrick's just too tired to get my.
Yeah,
joke
I missed that totally. Sorry.
I missed it too. Don't feel bad, Patrick. I missed it too.
It's because I don't like Pulaski so much. I don't remember anything that was said.
I posted a tweet because my favorite thing that I do every once a month is I tweet out Pulaski is greater than Crusher. And I do it once a month.
Do you really?
I do.
I did see that.
I've never noticed
today.
it. It wasn't on Twitter though. It was on Facebook.
Yeah, I've never done it on Facebook.
Oh, that's
before.
why
This
I
is
don't
the
really
first time.
check
Yeah.
Twitter much.
I usually do it on Twitter somehow, and today was the day. Somebody made a comment in some group that I was in about how they don't like Pulaski because she's mean to Data, and I'm like, oh my goodness, do I have to do this again?
Okay,
fine.
So
Pulaski.
So at least now all that inside joke makes sense because I don't remember anything she ever said. So so awesome. Sorry, listeners.
We're not here to talk about the Earl Grey and the Next Generation.
No, not completely anyway. So, Brandon, was there any feedback on the Babel conference from our last episode?
Yes, we had two comments for our last episode, which was Warp 5 166, which was the commentary to our second part of Shockwave. Brandon A. Coles directed his comments directly at Brandi, and he says, Brandi, I don't think Archer was Future Guy either. And I don't think so either. I don't think he was either, but that's a thing that was going around. And then Janet Lee also said, I don't think Spock looks human, quote unquote, because he's crying. T'Pol did cry when her mom died, so they have to be born doing that until emotional training kicks in. So she didn't really say why she thought Sarek said he looks human in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. But then she said also that the song Sorry was the song that turned some detractors into believers. So, and yeah, because I think I said I liked the song Sorry, and I was not sorry for liking Sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry for liking Sorry.
But I'm
Because that's how
Canadian.
he
I'm
says
sorry
it.
for everything.
Well, so is
You are.
Justin Bieber.
You are, yeah. But they got rid of him and sent him here.
They're just like, no, you are not upholding the Canadian ideals. Go to America. They like that crap there.
Yes. Exactly. So, again, Justin Bieber is definitely not what we're talking about today. But, so what are we talking about today?
We are talking about, this is based on your topic idea, Patrick. We're talking about taking the crew of the NX-01 and replacing them with different characters across the Trek timeline and who we think would be good to replace them. And I think it's an interesting, fun little topic that I've been looking forward to. It's something that I kind of had on the back burner for a while. So it's another idea could be which time eras would our crew fit in best, do you think? But I think this is an interesting one to start out with. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I happen to be looking over ideas, and this one hit me. I thought it was a cool little idea to try and piecemeal a different crew together. So just quick rules. None of us have talked to each other about who's on our list, although Brandon's pretty sure he knows one of mine, and he threatened to use one against me. But and other than that, it just has to be someone that was on screen, right? I mean, I picked them. I made it so there was everyone on screen, so I wasn't using Star Trek Online characters or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. I think we should start at the bottom and work our way to the captain last.
Okay.
What do you think?
That
What
sounds
do you
good.
consider the bottom?
Well, let's just start there. I mean, honestly, I sent this in the message, but I got to get this on air. I think instead of Porthos, we could have Neelix.
Yep.
Neelix could be the new Porthos.
So we are doing pets?
We're doing Spot.
No, we're not.
We're doing...
Yeah, it's got to be Spot.
No, it doesn't have to be Spot. It could also be... oh my gosh. I'm
Livingston.
having a moment.
Livingston, the fish.
No.
I still
Quark.
it's Quark. Rom?
Rom?
Rom would be a better fit than Quark. Sorry.
No, Brandi knows. Brandi gave me the death glare, but I love Neelix, so, I just make the joke because he's Q called him the rat once, right? The kitchen rat, right? So I'm just making that joke. I love Neelix.
That was not my death glare. When you see my death glare, you will die.
Yeah. Then don't do it while I'm on screen with you, please.
I just cut my finger on my root beer glass.
That's because Brandi gave him the hurt himself stare.
She did. Brandi.
That was just a paper cut stare. So.
You can't prove it was me.
I am not touching anything. I saw the look too. I'm not touching anything.
I'm bleeding. I got cut on my white glass here. Anyways, okay, where are we going to start then? What will be the bottom?
Here's the list I had in order was, and we could change it, but from top to bottom is captain, first officer, engineer, security, comms, doctor, and then helmsman.
So let's start with helmsman.
All right, is everyone in agreement that that's a decent enough order?
Sure.
Cool. So, Brandon, who do you have for your helmsman?
I think that the person who would fit into this era best would absolutely, hands down, have to be Tom Paris as the helmsman for the ship because, he's such a nostalgic guy. He likes previous eras. Yes, he likes old Earth culture, but I think he would totally fit in this. And he would love the hand gadgets of flying the ship. It would be more physical, more touchy-feely, which is kind of the kind of thing that he likes to do as a pilot. So that would be my first choice for helmsman.
Well, that's an interesting argument for him, too. I like it. I didn't pick it, but I like it. Brandi, who'd you have for your helmsman?
Oh, I didn't know we were going to have to make arguments as to why they would be good.
Oh, you don't have to.
No, I went with Kayla Detmer from Star Trek Discovery because she's just really good at what she does. Okay,
so I can make an argument for you because I picked Detmer as well. And the reason I did was because in season 3, when they go to war, or when they go to fight and go out, she would be perfect for that.
Oh yeah.
And I know, Paris is a great pilot and everything, and he could probably pull it off too. But she actually already has experience, and we know she can do it.
Yeah, well, she was not only the helmsman on Discovery, but previously she was the helmsman on the Shinzo as well. Right. So she's got a lot of experience.
Yes. So
and I just like the look of her. Besides, I mean, it's not about appearance, but I mean, I like her dedication and her intensity is what I mean by that.
Yeah, the eye metal thing is cool too.
That didn't influence my decision, but yeah.
No, but it helps. It definitely helps. All right, so far me and Brandi matched on helmsman, and Brandon had to be odd. Go figure.
I think we'll probably have a few duplicates in this one.
Probably. I think some just kind of fit, right? So
right.
We should end up with
I remember
similars.
now. Instead of Porthos, Captain Lorca's Tribble. Sorry. He really should just be Spot, you know.
It's Spot. In my list, it's Spot.
I want Neelix on the ship.
Okay.
I love
Okay.
Neelix. I love
So
Neelix.
before Doctor, we will add in someone from morale.
Morale officer?
Morale.
Yes.
No. So now we could add in Chef, and then I could just say Neelix.
Okay, that works. That actually works.
Yeah, but I was gonna. If it was morale officer, I was gonna pick Troy.
Oh, I see how it is.
Oh, Patrick, I missed you.
So, all right, fine. So for morale officer, I picked Troy. Now we'll go back to the list we actually created. Oh, so, Brandi, who'd you have for the Doctor?
I had to go with my first Doctor, which is Dr. McCoy, because, for all of his emotional outbursts, I have emotional outbursts, he reattached Spock's freaking brain. So I would trust that guy with my life.
But he didn't do it. His mind was influenced by the hairdryer.
What are you talking
Right?
about?
In Spock's brain, it was the hairdryer that gave him the knowledge. It wasn't McCoy that had the knowledge. The hairdryer gave him the knowledge.
Yeah, but he was losing the knowledge as he was doing the operation, and he still finished it, and Spock was fine. So let's just leave it there.
But he shouldn't have reattached his mouth.
It is horrible.
Fair. That's fair.
He's horrible, though.
No, he is, but that's the funny thing about Spock is that he knows how to push McCoy's buttons, and McCoy does not know how to deal with that. In all the time they know each other, he didn't know how to deal with that. And that makes him endearing to me. No, he was a good doctor, and I would have McCoy as my chief medical officer.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Brandon?
Okay, so I know that I teased Patrick that I was going to be picking Pulaski for this choice, but I'm actually going with something completely different here, and I think it's going to be completely unexpected. What I like about Phlox and what I think he brings to the ship is an element of positivity, and, you know, he's that person that people can go to. He's always kind of got that optimistic outlook, and so I think that the medical personnel that I would like to see replace him is actually Kes. So I think that she would fit in, and as being that alien outsider, I think she'd be a really interesting addition to this type of crew. What do you guys think about that?
I like that. That is definitely out of left field, though.
Mm-hmm,
I didn't even consider her, and I should have.
Nope.
I am ashamed of myself.
Didn't even think of that name at all.
Well, you know, it's interesting because here I am. I've got 2 Voyager picks, well, 3 including the pet, right? But, you know, and Voyager's, you know, it's my second least favorite, you know, Star Trek series, right? But but I still love Voyager, you know? You know, it's one of those things where you rank everything and something's got to be on the bottom, you know? And, you know, Discovery has replaced Voyager on the bottom of my list for favorite Treks. But I mean, like, even still, I still love a lot of Discovery and I love a lot of Voyager. It's just out of the ranking. If I'm going to grab something off my shelf, you know, up until a year and a half ago, Voyager would have been the last series that I go to if I just wanted to grab something. But I mean, I love the characters in Voyager, and you know, I think Kes was underutilized, and she could have been developed a bit more. But I think she would have been a good choice for this crew.
Yeah, she should have been more than just Neelix's girlfriend and someone for Paris to long after.
Mm-hmm.
And only because of her appearance. It was just kind of like,
Plus,
that's so 90s.
he really wanted to get Neelix back his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
We see what you're doing there, Brandon.
I was in Vegas and I saw this couple together and I tweeted a photo of them. The guy was Neelix and she was Kes from like season 1, and it was amazing. It was awesome cosplay. I'm like, this is awesome.
Nice.
All right, so I'm going to surprise everyone, and I'm going to go with Beverly Crusher.
Be still my heart.
Why would... Oh, I get it. You're being facetious.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, everyone knew as soon as this topic came up that she was going to be my doctor. If for no other reason, I literally named my daughter after her. So clearly I like her a lot as a doctor, and if I could see more, then I'm great with that. Plus, you know, we lost that season 2 to a terrible doctor, so.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I've quit.
Bye.
I'm just not even sad about it.
Okay, just you and me, Patrick. Let's do this.
That's it. All right. So we can scrap this whole idea now. We got rid of him. It worked. No, I think she'd be good. For all the garbage she takes from everyone on killing too many people, it's just not true.
No, it's not.
And we saw her go undercover a few times. So, or at least once. I think just once. I'm going to say a few. And but she did run a few missions, which I like. So I like her on this ship. Again, all my decisions basically factor around season 3. Because that's the most important time for the crew.
Right.
So, that's that. Who should we start with? Brandon, comms. Who do you like?
For communication?
Yes.
I'm going to go, you know what, I wanted to pull some left field ones out of this, so I totally picked a few left field options, and, you know, I think I wanted to go with something animated, so I chose Maress for this one, you know, because, I love the animated series as well, and I think that Maress, you know, she was sometimes replacing Uhura on the bridge and whatnot, and I think it would be neat to have a more alien crew member as well, so I chose Maress. She was my choice.
Cool. I've never watched the animated series, so
I know who you're talking about.
I couldn't pick her.
No? Yeah, you should watch the animated series. It's fun.
No, I've never seen it. I keep meaning to, but 75-hour work weeks and setting up for these just doesn't lend to watching more episodes. So it's unfortunate.
That's fair.
But Randy, who'd you pick?
Well, it's difficult to pick someone specifically for communications because a lot of the time in future starships, it got combined with security. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to, decided to go with who I thought would be great in general for the situation, and that's Tasha Yar.
Oh, that fits.
Because Tasha is good at her job, and she can also kick butt if need be. So she would be great at security, and she has lots of experience with communications. Because really, honestly, for that time period, no one is going to beat Hoshi as far as actual linguistic skill. Because everybody else has universal translators. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. I picked Uhura, though. I just went with the original. I think 2 reasons I picked her. One, I actually really like her, and because of the setting and time period in which her character was written, I feel there was more you could do with it, and in Enterprise, you would do more with it. So I would love to see that. So I'm kind of looking at this list as what I'd like to see and how they'd be written in that era of television as well, not just if they fit in Season 3 of Enterprise. And I keep saying Season 3, and I know that wasn't one of the rules, but I based it all on 3, so.
That's an interesting choice that you based it all on your Season 3. I know that's your favorite season of the show.
It is, but I also think that Season 1 and 2 and 4 aren't as important for who's on the ship. That you have more leeway in those seasons. So the hardest season, the season that the crew would be the most tested would be Season 3. So if they fit in Season 3, I could fill them out in 1 and 2 and 4. In my opinion. And someone's yelling at their phone or their whatever right now going, he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
It's all about personal preference here. I mean,
yeah, it's just our crew.
Yeah, we can do what we want.
Oh, in that case, from Star Trek Online, I picked my character for everything. I'd like to see me as the captain, first officer, helmsman, engine. No, I'm kidding.
I wouldn't like that at all. I would suck as a Starfleet officer.
Oh, I thought she meant she wouldn't like me on the show. I was like, that was a little harsh.
No, not at all. I couldn't do that with my own character.
If we wrote this story, would you be a Mary Pat?
Yes. Oh, man. Oh, well, that
or
one landed.
Patty Sue. Patty Sue, there we go.
Oh,
Patty
boy,
Sue.
that's rough.
I thought it was, Patty Sue. Yeah.
Moving on. Next, we had security. I guess I'll start with this one. So for my security, I just went with Worf. I like Worf. I think he would do well here. I think it would be weird to see him on the ship when we start off with problems with Klingons in the first place. So I think his point of view would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, I think I think he'd be a choice. That would work for me.
So Brandi, who'd you pick for security?
I picked Odo because he can go anywhere, infiltrate anything, look like anything, an inanimate object, another alien, etc. So if you needed any kind of infiltration sort of situation going on, you could have Odo do that. But not only that, he is extremely fair. He is not partial to any one party or another, and he would always get to the bottom of whatever was going on without prejudice. Unless it was Quark, then he would have
Hate him.
prejudice.
So I like that you brought up Odo because he was this close to being on my ship for the exact same reason, mostly because of him being fair, more so than the infiltration part. Because I just way
that's
they
icing. You know, that's the icing.
right.
part.
Yeah, no, he's just so straight laced that I think it's. I mean, later on there was a few times, but for the most part, he's so straight laced and by the book that era seems to need that more anyway, right? So the only problem with it is there's really not a book yet. We're writing it, but who better to write it?
Exactly.
So, and Brandon, who'd you go with?
So this is going to give
field.
a little left field. Not really, but it's going to give a little bit of an interesting tease for a later decision here, because I wanted to keep a Vulcan on the crew somehow. So I decided to put a Vulcan in this position. So based on security, I decided to go with Tuvok on this one. You know, because I wanted to keep a Vulcan on the crew. I think it would have been important to have that human-Vulcan relationship and, antagonism and hostility that kind of still goes on. So that's kind of why I chose him, and I think Tuvok's a pretty good security officer. I think he does a pretty good job, so that's why I chose him. Boy, I'm just Star Trek Voyagerprise.
Yeah, but that kind of makes sense because they're both kind of in the same setting, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at it, they're both kind of out on their own. There's no one they can call and get help, so it would make sense that actually, if you were to take one set of crew to put them on Enterprise, I would just, if we weren't mixing it up, I would take the Voyager crew and stick them on Enterprise, or vice versa.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment.
Yeah, so it's not so weird that you use. I mean, Cass was way out there, but it's not a bad choice. It was just I didn't even think to
No,
use
and
that.
I don't think it's that way out there. It's just unexpected, and it's something we honestly should have considered.
Probably we're terrible hosts.
We are
So,
ashamed.
I don't think you need to be ashamed. It's just she's not a doctor; she's a nurse, right?
Yeah,
so
but that's true.
she's the assistant on Voyager. So
Very true. All right. Next we have coming up. Oh, security.
We just did security.
we just did security.
I lied. Next we have coming up. Oh, right, engineer.
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 Okay, I'll go first on this one here.
Okay,
so
perfect.
I think that, being that this is, the first Warp 5, lots of fun things can happen. There's be a lot of challenges dealing with this. I wanted to pick somebody that I thought could handle challenges and could handle difficult situations, could handle meeting alien ships and knowing what to do kind of right off the bat. So in my opinion, there was only one choice on this, and that had to have been O'Brien. So he was definitely my engineer of choice for this one here, because I think he's the best fit.
Yeah, I could definitely see making that choice. I mean, mostly because I made that choice.
Well, there you go.
So, and for the exact same reason. Brandi, did you have someone else?
I did.
Nice.
I actually chose B'Elanna Torres.
Ooh, nice.
For many of the same reasons that you would choose anyone from Voyager. The fact that she's out there with no support from Starfleet, with no home base, no friends, and she's got to keep it all running, and she does. And that takes a lot of skill, and yes, she does have her mood swings, and that's okay. But when, it became very clear very early on, she knew exactly what she was doing and the right way to do it. And she saved some butts many a time. So, long live Torres.
Yeah, she's not a bad choice at all. She's actually a pretty good choice. I know she's an engineer, but I didn't. As soon as this came up, I just said O'Brien. I saw scenes of the early DS9 where he's running around trying to get replicators back and this, that, and the other thing. And to me, it just made perfect sense. So I didn't really give it much thought. But yeah, B'Elanna deals with a lot of similar issues throughout her run as well, which is interesting.
But without resources.
Yeah, right. But the problems he has is he might have resources, but he doesn't even know what he's looking at. So
Yeah, because it's all Cardassian technology.
right. So, but yeah, I mean, once again, Voyager fits on Enterprise. So,
True.
all right, we're winding down here, and so, Brandi, who'd you have for your first officer?
Now, this one is kind of interesting because technically my first officer and my science officer could easily switch places and still be very, very effective. So, we said first officer, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I chose from the unaired pilot number 1.
Ooh, nice. Good choice.
Because she is cool, calm, collected, smart, and she gets stuff done. So, and she was just, I would have loved to really see, in that day and age, I would have loved to see a female first officer, and I think Majel Barrett nailed it. I want that. She would be fantastic on the NX-01 because no matter what anyone threw at her, she'd just be like, okay, this is how we're going to handle this. So.
Awesome. So I bet you're really excited for season 2 of Discovery then to see her, hey?
You have no idea.
Awesome.
Awesome.
No
I would have loved to see that too. I mean, anybody in the cage. Like, I love the cage. It's one of my
it's
favorite
great.
episodes of the original Star Trek. I think it's great, and I think it's bonkers that they didn't choose to go with that. And I mean, I would love to, as much as I love the original series and I love what happened and with the Star Trek we ended up getting, I would have loved to have seen a Star Trek series with Jeffrey Hunter as Pike and, you know, like that Star Trek era. I would have loved to have seen that. So I'm also very excited to see Pike on Discovery because he's cool. I mean, he's a great character. I think it's going to be really neat to see.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's like we're getting an untold story that we've always wanted.
But yeah, number 1, I mean, like, she's also got those Vulcan traits, right? Like, that's what became Spock, right? Is taking her personality, basically. So, yeah, she would be a good choice for first officer, I agree.
Yeah, because Spock in that pilot episode is overly emotional for what we know Vulcans to be now. So, yeah. The women!
So Brandon, who'd you pick?
Okay, so my first officer, I'm not sure if this is the best choice, but I kind of wanted to go with the era, and I'm not sure if it plays well off of the captain that I chose. But I wanted to choose somebody that was kind of an explorer at heart, you know, who liked to get down and dirty on the planets and whatnot, and, you know, visiting alien cultures. So I chose Riker for this one. So Riker was my choice to be first officer on this one, because I think Riker is a great first officer. And he was a great first officer for Picard, you know, and I don't know if that means he could be a great first officer for everybody, because he wasn't a great first officer for Jellicoe, you know, so...
Nobody was a great
But nobody
officer
likes
for
Jellicoe. So
I don't know, Data was a good first officer for Jellicoe. Data was doing good.
I
You know,
think
and I
Jellicoe-
don't think Jellicoe was a bad captain. He just
No.
had a completely different command style than Picard,
he
you know,
was
so...
misunderstood.
Yes, and he didn't mesh well with the people because, you know, while he could be a great captain, you know, we're going on a tangent here, you know, he's not good at initiating that transition, and which is why he left a lot of it to everybody else, you know. So he left it to Troy, and he left it to Data, and he tried to leave it to Riker, and, you know, they weren't quite liking the transition because they were used to Picard, and they were used to the way that Picard handled it.
yeah, and he didn't leave any wiggle room moving to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a good leader, he might be a good captain, but a real good leader knows how to move from what they were to what he wants smoothly. He can get them to go, but he just kind of wanted them to instantly change, which is part of the problem. So, yeah, I don't know. But for my first officer, I like you, Brandon, wanted that Vulcan, so I picked Spock. I picked Spock to fill that role because I needed a Vulcan on the ship that would play off the human Vulcan, dynamic, and I couldn't think of anyone better for me than Spock. So there he is. So I know that's kind of an obvious pick that people were probably trying to avoid anyway, but it is what it is. I did screw up in this order, though. I totally left out the science officer. So I guess let's go back one and let's do the science officer now, and I can give mine first. But I would go with Tilly. I would pick Tilly to be my science officer. I know technically she just got into the command program, but I don't care. I'm making her my science officer because I think she's the smartest person on the ship of any ship we've seen so far.
Excellent. Yeah, Tilly would be a good choice, but is she? She's kind of more of an engineer, though, isn't she?
Well, she's in the. I guess that it depends on what you're reading or looking at the moment. They kind of bounce her back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because she knows the science of how the spore drive works and all that, and then she does the fixing of the machinery for it too. So.
Yeah, but that's all engineering stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can't say it's nothing wrong. I mean, Tilly's a great character, so
no,
yeah.
We're not debating that your choice was valid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because it is. Your choice is valid.
Yes. Yeah,
Tilly's
whatever.
my favorite character on Discovery. Your choice is valid.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. All right, that's it. She's the helmsman. It's valid. It's Tilly. It's fine.
She's every part.
She can't even drive a car.
Wait till you get to my captain choice, right? Wait till you get to my captain choice. So,
but no, but she was. If you read the comic too, and I guess I shouldn't really play that in here. She was picked for her science accolade, not her engineering. So,
and that's in the Discovery annual comic.
Correct. So I'm using that. That fits for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but that's
whatever.
not canon because it's not on screen.
Yeah. Well, I also am making myself.
Nobody
captain.
cares about canon.
No, well, we said that if it was on screen, it counted.
She's still on screen in the science department.
I know that, but using something not on screen to influence your decision was what I was talking about. But I don't actually care, so I'm just going to drop it.
Clearly, Brandi doesn't like your choice
at all, but she's okay with Tilly, so she's actually trying to rationalize it in her own head now. And I just don't care who I pissed off, so it's fine. It's my pick, and I'm keeping it.
Excellent. That's fine.
So Brandon, who did you have?
Oh, only one choice, I think, in this era, in this frontier, in this wild frontier for first officers, got to be Jadzia Dax. You know, like she's a part of this era as well. But she's also one of those people that's, you know, kind of fun, but I think she's great at her job. And aside from Spock, she's probably the best science officer in Star Trek, you know? So that's kind of why I chose her. I think I've got a very talented crew here, and she would fit right in. And yeah, I think that's my choice.
Nice, that's a good pick too. And Brandi.
Well, this is where my whole first officer and science officer could be interchangeable thing because I chose Spock. As my science officer, because he can act under pressure and he is excellent at the science part of being the first officer as well as being a first officer. So he juggled both of those roles quite well. And
who's your first officer choice again?
My first officer choice was number 1.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So
do you want because you have number 1? Then do you want this to be Shouty Spock?
No, I don't want this to be Shouty Spock. I don't want him to go around, the women! So I don't want that.
What about once in a while? Like every...
Check the circuits!
Every 20th episode.
Yes, actually. They kept finding ways to make him emotional in one way or another.
Yeah, and then claim he was not emotional at all.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's not about not being emotional. It's about suppressing the emotions. And people keep forgetting that distinction. So, but Spock has never lost that search for knowledge, that curiosity that every good scientist has to know the truth, to know the actual facts behind whatever is going on. So Spock wins the day for me.
Awesome.
Cool.
Last but not least, we have the captain of our beautiful NX-01. Brandi, who would you pick for your captain?
Oh, this one was super hard for me. Because I feel that there were two characters that were almost... Well, they seem very different, but with the situations they've dealt with, they would both make great captains. But ultimately, I decided that Sisko had an edge above everyone else I was thinking about. Because we know he knows how to deal with war. We know he doesn't sit by and let injustice happen. He's not... He can be diplomatic, but when butts need to be kicked, he is going to kick them. And he does command the respect of his crew. And he still has a sense of humor and a lovely singing voice on top of that. So karaoke night instead of movie night.
I came really close to picking him, and the major reason I really wanted to was because he leaves the baseball behind.
Yeah,
but I did back off and I picked someone else. But Before we get to mine, Brandon, who'd you pick?
So I went off the rails here. I like your pick, Brandi, because Sisko's my captain, right? Like, he's my favorite captain. I think he's, I just like his command style the best. There's so many great moments of him that I think would fit in this time period as well. Like, so many great season 1 moments where he shows his leniency and his ability to work with his staff for the issues that are going on in their life. And I mean, like, I pick episodes like Progress, when Kira goes to that moon and she got to get that old man off the moon, and Bashir's like, I don't know, she just wouldn't leave. And he's like, I want you to recommend that she stays there to take care of him. He's like, but I didn't recommend that. He's like, well, do it anyways. And then, and Bashir's like, well, based on my medical opinion, she's got to stay for how long? And then he says 2 weeks or whatever it is. And Bashir's like, okay, 2 weeks. Should that be enough? And Sisko says, I'll take it under advisement. Like, I don't know. And there's that one. And then when he actually goes down there to work with her, and he says, and he tries to talk with her and says, I know what you're going through. I understand how difficult this is, but you have a choice and he doesn't. Like, he's willing to mentor his staff. And there's a lot of great moments like that in season 1. So I think he's a great choice and would totally fit in this era. But I didn't pick him. I wanted to go outside the box as well, like a couple of my choices, and I got kind of a heavy alien crew here, but I think one more alien would work in this, because I really think that this character is going to go far, and I think he's going to end up at the captain at some point, but I got to go with Saru for the captain of my ship here, because, Saru is my favorite character Discovery, and I think there's issues with the writing of his character. I don't like his threat ganglion. I don't think it works. I think it's a complete and total mess of writing, but I love the character. And I liked the growth that he showed in season 1, and I believe that he will become one of the best captains. He questions himself. And that's kind of how I do it. Like, when I face problems in my life, I step back and I question things, and I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Because I want to be aware of the situation. And I think that's a very good trait for a captain to have, where they step back, they try and analyze the problem and get resources and get help when they can. And I saw a lot of growth in this character. So that's why I chose Saru for the captain of my ship.
That's a good choice.
It's an interesting choice.
Oh, shut up, Patrick.
I said it's interesting. I didn't say it was bad. My favorite captain is actually also Sisko, and I didn't pick him because I think better for this era would be Captain Janeway.
That was my other choice that I had so much trouble deciding between.
Well, Captain Janeway is... I love Captain Janeway as the captain because she's kind of Picardish, but a little better, in my opinion. And I know I just pissed off a lot of people. But the fact that we all grew up with Picard, so I get it. But there's just certain traits she has that it was just like Picard written better in many instances, in my opinion. Where it fell flat is that people kind of were tiring of Voyager as it went on, but I wasn't one of them, so it didn't bother me. I think plus the people I had picked would work well with her. I think it would be good to have her and Spock. You know what I mean? I think it would be good to have, Uhura and Worf with Janeway. I think all those things would work. So I think she would be the best. Plus, we know she has experience with doing the right thing at the end of the day. So in the very first episode, she could have easily been sent back and let that planet die, but instead she decided to trek across the universe. Yeah. And those are the kind of traits you want in your captain of this era. If you have to make some allies, she knows how to do that kind of stuff. She's able to make allies out in space, which we didn't. I felt we didn't see enough of that in Enterprise. I think there should have been more of that, but I guess they probably just didn't want to rehash old stories, so they didn't do a lot of it. But I think that would work, and so I think she would work in this particular role in this era.
Yeah, another thing I considered about her was that she and Archer have a little bit of the same temperament when it comes to certain things, like that desire to meet new races, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations. They have that same level of enthusiasm for doing so. And yet, when the chips are down and they're in trouble, she knows how to lead her people. So,
yeah, well, I've said it before. I don't think on this podcast, but I feel like she was a good mix of Picard and Sisko. And I never thought about Archer, but that too. Obviously they wrote Archer after the fact. But they took that part of her personality and made a character out of it. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know if they did it intentionally or not, but that's what happened. So,
excellent, cool. Yeah, I think Jane would make a great choice for this one here. You know, I think she's probably the best captain choice after Saru and after Sisko. Like, she'd be a third choice for me.
Right.
You know,
best not near the top.
You know, but if I thought more, it might even be she'd be my second choice. You know, like as far as people who are captains, then she's probably my first choice. But yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, but the only thing with mine is I'm not sure if Saru and Riker would work well, and I think they would. You guys, what do you think about that? That's the only thing I wasn't
that's a
sure.
good pairing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if Riker would work with everybody on the other side of that list for you.
Yeah.
But I think Riker's versatile enough to get it done. But I think he would work really well with Saru.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because I think they would play off each other well, because Riker is as much as I think actually, you know, they wrote Riker to never become captain so they can keep him as the first officer, but I think he would have made a good captain, but he would have made a very headstrong run-into-battle captain. Mm-hmm. And Saru would stop that. You know, he would be the buffer for that. And that's kind of what you need, right? You either need your captain to be the buffer for the first officer or the other way around.
There are buffers. We need buffers.
Yes, we need buffers. Like my TV when it's buffering. No, not those.
Or that singer Warren Buffer.
Yes. Well, he would have been the entertainment committee.
He could have been getting the bands in the mess hall.
Right. Because we don't have movie night, we have band night.
Yes, excellent.
We just pick up people all over the galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, should we go over our lists again here? I got mine open here. Should we do a recap?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So instead of Porthos, I got Neelix.
Got Spot.
For helmsman, I got Tom Paris. For the doctor, I've got Kess. For communications, I got Maress. For security, I got Tuvok. For engineer, I got O'Brien. For first officer, I got Riker. Science officer, Jadzia Dax. Captain, Saru. And I think it's kind of funny because the only TOS member I've got here is Maress from the animated series. So I think it's kind of an interesting crew choice here. That's the only one that I didn't fit anybody in from. Brandi, did you want to redo your list?
Yeah, mine is not going to be in the same order because it's written in a different order and you all are just going to have to deal with it. So for Helm, I chose Kayla Detmer. For communications, I chose Tasha Yar. For security, I chose Odo. For chief medical officer, I chose McCoy. For engineer, I chose B'Elanna Torres. For science officer, I chose Spock. For first officer, I chose number 1. And for captain, I chose Sisko.
Okay, and my list is I picked Spot, but after Spot,
picked Spot.
For my and then for my morale officer, I picked Troy. So
my morale officer is Neelix. So.
Right, so Neelix is on everyone's ship but mine. He didn't make the cut. Sorry, Neelix. I do like him, but he just for chef. He's the chef on because we have a chef.
Oh yeah. There you go.
So I still get him on. So that works. But for my helmsman is Detmer. My doctor is Beverly Crusher. My communications officer is Ahura. My security officer is Worf. My engineering is O'Brien. Then I have, for science, I have Tilly. My first officer is Spock. And I went with Janeway as my captain.
Mm-hmm. Cool,
so
right on.
I think it was interesting that we didn't have more crossover.
Yeah, we only had O'Brien. I think was the only crossover.
For me and you,
right?
and me and Brandi had Detmer.
And you, Detmer, yeah. So.
And you guys didn't have a single crossover, right?
Nope.
So we only had 2 crossovers, and I screwed it up for both of you.
No worries.
What's weird is I actually wasn't gonna go with Detmer. I was gonna go with Sulu, but I didn't want to have too many TOS guys.
Okay. Well, I think before we sign off for today here, we should read the 2 emails that we've recently received. What do you guys think?
Oh, that's awesome.
That sounds like a fantastic idea.
I think it's a great way to finish the show. So we got a message from Bill Watson in Marion, Illinois. Thanks so much, Bill, for sending in a message. Bill says, I've been listening to Warp 5 on Spotify, and I recently listened to the episode about the little things that set Enterprise apart from other shows. I don't believe Porthos was mentioned, and while the little guy doesn't make or break the show for me, his presence was a nice touch that I think humanized Archer. Well, wait till you see him interact with Neelix, buddy. Okay. I agree with what was said about the widescreen format, too. I recently bought most of the Enterprise Blu-rays, and this show looks so fantastic. Taking all the little things as a whole, Enterprise was pretty daring in trying to humanize the main characters and give the Star Trek world more bumps and imperfections that make the show a lot of fun to rewatch. To me, Enterprise is actually closer to what I always wanted TNG to be, a show about people who aren't perfect, but who still dare to venture into the unknown and make mistakes. And that's awesome. Thanks so much, Bill, for sending in a message. We really appreciate it. And while we're talking here, I'm opening up my app here, and I'm going to look at, just so if the listeners want to go back to this episode, I think it's 93, the one that he's talking about. Episode 93 is the little things. Let me just double check here. Or is it 99? 99, the little things. The episode's called They Had Steak, They Had Salad. It's the little things of it. But we did, however, have an episode where we covered Porthos. We didn't mention him in that episode, I believe, but we did talk about Porthos. Do you remember, Brandi, which episode that was?
Oh, for
that was one of our
sake.
first ones here.
Yeah. It was an early on, yeah.
By the way, was I in the Little Things episode?
No, that was before you guys started. So.
I thought I guessed it on that.
No, that was just it was just Floyd and myself here. So
it was one. I did.
I'm scrolling through trying to find the Porthos one. Here we go. 134. My dog can drive in my car and do math problems. That's the name of the episode. So yeah, Bill, definitely check that episode out. That was a fun little one.
Absolutely.
That was Brandi's idea. She wanted to talk about Porthos, and I said, absolutely, we need to talk about Porthos.
I love that dog.
And we did, and it was a good episode. And just you have to listen to find out how we came up with that title.
And we sang. We sang How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?
Woof, woof.
Well, one of us did.
We're not singing now? Okay.
No. We have one more message here, another email from John Burrill, and I hope I've said your name right, John. John's a tough one to say, but I'm sure I got the Brill part right. John says, just listen to the commentary for Shockwave and look forward to Shockwave Part 2. While the first part is better, the second will always hold a significance for me. It aired when I was in college, and I wrote a paper on that episode for my media criticism class. I'd send it to you, but sadly, I no longer have a digital copy and would have to dig out the hard copy and retype it. I look forward to listening. Keep up the good work. Well, I hope you enjoyed our second part of the commentary there, John. We had fun that night, and I think we did a good job. It's tough recording two commentaries back to back when you're trying to just talk on what you're seeing on screen, but because we were unable to do the recording the following week. So, but yes, I do agree that the first part is better, and I think we mentioned that in the second part of the commentary. Brandi and I are talking about that. So,
yeah, which is not to say that part 2 is bad, because it's not. As second parts go, it holds up pretty well to the first part, but the first part is just better.
Mm-hmm. And we mentioned too that we think a lot of Star Trek two-parters, it seems like the first part is generally better.
Yeah,
you know?
well, it's all building up to this. Yeah, they're all hanging everything on this cliffhanger that they're going to have at the end of part 1. And then the cliffhanger resolution is never as exciting as they make it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Excellent, right on. Well, talking about Neelix the Beagle isn't the only thing we've been discussing here on the network this week. So take a listen to this clip and see what else you may have missed elsewhere on Trek FM. And I am just going to add a caveat here. Neelix is my favorite character on Voyager. So I'm not teasing Neelix as being a bad character. I love Neelix.
He just likes teasing Neelix.
Yes, just like I like teasing Patrick.
Yeah,
he
but he doesn't love me.
No, I think actually he does, Patrick. Beware.
Previously on Trek.fm, Earl Grey.
However, one thing
Everyone's gonna sing the song. Everyone join me. Life force.
No, I will not join you. I'm sorry. Okay,
Where
however,
are you?
Meta Treks.
Speaking of character, I always found it interesting how many ways Q manifests himself, the characters that he takes on. We see him as a Starfleet commander, a Bajoran waiter. We see him as an alien captain. This
Q's
is
just a cosplayer.
This is a man of many faces.
Who knew Q was such a theater geek?
The Edge, a Star Trek Discovery podcast.
I felt like I was in a Vegas casino and the bling bling bling, like it was the jackpot. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? How is she affecting the replicators and that's throwing food out? I've never seen a replicator throw food out.
Melodic Treks.
Well, it was definitely about a lower budget. There was no question that we could not afford Jerry Goldsmith. And later, by the time we got to do Star Trek VI, we couldn't afford Jamie Horner.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
So check out all these shows and join the conversation about your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe and beyond. You'll find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're an Apple user, please be sure to hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts on iPhone, iPad, or Apple TV, or on the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they're published. And please leave us a star rating and a written review. If you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered as well. You can find our shows on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Windows Phone, and most third-party apps, and you can stream and download the MP3 file from our website or grab the RSS link as well.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show, and there are many ways for you to do that. The best place to join the larger conversation is the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, B-A-B-E-L, into the search field on Facebook, and it should come right up. If you'd like to send us an email, you can use the form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send a show and select Warp 5. That will come right to us. You can also find the network on Twitter at TrekFM and on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM. So, Brandon, when you're not trying to demean Neelix and pet him like a cat, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Brandon-Shea. You can find me here on the network with Melodic Treks, which is all about the music of Star Trek. You can find me over on the Fandom Podcast Network with my friends Chris and Tom, where we cover all of Alfred Hitchcock's films. And you can find me over on the Talk Film Society with my good friend Zach Moore. As of today, I'm very excited because last night I would have watched the new Halloween movie. Yay! I'm so excited. It was awesome. It was the greatest Halloween movie ever, I'm sure I'm going to be saying. And our episode will be coming out on Tuesday on the Talk Film Society Network, because Zach and I have been doing an 11-part retrospective on all the Halloween movies, and we just recorded on Saturday our episode for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and you got to check it out because it was a good discussion. So that's the major spots, and as of this recording, it's October 10th that we're actually recording this, or sorry, October 8th that we're actually recording this, and today, my friend Darren Mooney released an episode of his podcast, which is called the Movie Palace Podcast, and I talk about another Hitchcock film, Shadow of a Doubt, on that podcast. So you can just check that episode out if you'd like to see. Brandi, where can people find you when you're not choosing a brand new crew for our NX-01?
Nowhere. I've totally left social media. No, that's not true. You can find me in the Babel Conference from time to time. You can also find me on Twitter at Brandywine12. Brandy is with an I. 12 is a number. You can hear me here on the network on Live from the Edge. We are covering all of the short treks. And we will also be back live weekly when Star Trek Discovery starts up again on January 17th.
Yes.
What in the world is wrong with me?
That's my birthday.
Nice. Happy birthday in advance.
I always tell people I was born to be a Star Trek fan because I was born on 1701.
Okay. That is good. I like that. I don't have that kind of connection.
No, I'm July 25th. There's nothing.
Yeah, except you have the same birthday as my sister Brooke. So,
well, there's that.
And she's awesome, so there you go. It's an awesome day to be born.
Well, the odds are one of us would be.
Oh, I was trying to give you a compliment, so
I know.
Let me just walk that back. Anyway, you can also find me at darkcornerpodcast.com doing the podcast called the Dork Corner Dork Corner. Let's call it the Dork Corner Podcast. Oy.
Stormfart.
I did that to her last week too.
And it never stops being funny. I just
Dork fart.
Dork fart.
The Storm Fart Podcast. No, the Dark Corner Podcast. Dave and I talk about stuff and things, and I swear like Tilly, so beware.
Beware. Be very, very aware. Patrick, where can people find you when you're not writing yourself into Star Trek Adventures as a Patty Sue?
Well, the only place to find me is at work, putting out fires, quite literally. And I'm not a fireman, by the way, guys. So me putting out fires, bad thing. If I ever get out of that heck hole, I will. I'll be again on the Babel conference, where I try and check in as much as I can. You can also find me on Twitter at MagicDrop5, which I admitted earlier not to checking much, but I'm there. And you can find me on the Edge with my friend Amy. So that's about it.
Brandi, you know what's funny is that, like, when I call him a Patty Sue, what I picture is like one of those little boys that you would get like in the 1800s or whatever, those rich boys that would like have the bonnets and the long curly locks.
Oh, the fancy lads, yeah.
The fancy lads. And he would like have like a big lollipop in front of him.
Why did you put that in my head?
I now know the photo I'm taking the next time I go to Disney. Getting one of those giant Mickey lollipops.
Yes.
And I'm standing in front of Canada.
But you gotta have the locks. You gotta have
I
the
could
locks.
get a wig. They sell them. And a bonnet.
Yes, exactly. You got it totally. That's what I picture.
Oh my goodness.
You just gave me a Halloween costume. People are now thinking, why does he do this to himself? Why? Why does he subject himself to this?
My friend posted online, I was going to post that I would take it. He's selling Jerry Ryan costume, and he said the only reason he bought it was because it was autographed, but it's like a Halloween costume. And he's like, I don't know what size it is, and I'm like, I'm taking it. It will fit. I will make it fit. It's her silver catsuit. Anyways, let's finish this.
And you thought the visual of me with golden locks and a lollipop was bad.
No, I didn't say bad. I just hilarious, really.
Well, I tweeted out when I said I was going to Vegas. I tweeted out a picture of Tasha Yar from The Naked Now, and I'm like, I just found my cosplay costume for Vegas, but I don't have time to lose weight or shave. I said.
Those poor people who feared for their lives until you got there.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think of who I could cosplay as, and all I can think of is that woman in that Next Generation episode who was playing the organ in that bar, and then she started doing Klingon opera.
Yes, Melota. You know what's awesome? We're going way off the rails, and at least this is afterwards, right? You know what's awesome about her is her voice was dubbed over in that episode.
Really?
So the actress that's doing it, her voice was dubbed over by Judy Durand, who's the woman who does the voice of the computers on Deep Space Nine on the Cardassian station. And I love her voice so much. So when I went back to it and heard time, I'm like, that's the woman from DS9's computer.
If you guys could just see how Brandon almost jumped out of his seat explaining that.
Oh, yeah. He was very enthusiastic.
Go and listen to it. Go watch some Deep Space Nine, and then go watch Unification. What is it, part 2, I think it is?
I think it's part 2, yeah.
Yeah, and go watch that scene. It's Judy Durand who does the voice for Terok Nor.
Awesome.
Do you want to read the last one, or do you want me to? Because I got it open.
Oh, yeah, I got the thing. I just was waiting until y'all were done. I wasn't sure what that
we
was
were done our
be.
tangents. I think we just
we're
had
good
20
now.
minutes.
Okay.
20 minutes of tangents here.
Well, if you'd like to keep filth like this coming to you each week... Sorry. No. Sorry. Let's try that again. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron on the network, on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/trekfm. That's patreon.com/trekfm to get all the details. Perks include early access to episodes, exclusive content, producer credits, and so much more. Also available through our special patrons website, Patron Zone. So it requires a lot of money and time to produce, host, and distribute these shows each month, and we appreciate any support you can give us. We hope you'll join the team, and again, you'll find all the details at patreon.com/trekfm. Talk about the associate producers, y'all.
At this time, we'd like to thank our wonderful associate producers for their support of Trek FM and Warp 5 as well. See, look how quickly I can jump into that. I was like taking a drink, and I'm like, I just totally lost my train of thought.
I should have done it. I have the list.
I don't.
We really appreciate your support, and we think that you guys would make a wonderful crew of our NX-01. Absolutely. So, we would like to thank Norman C. Lau, who would be our captain. Norman's a good captain, right?
Right.
I think so.
We wouldn't have to mutiny.
No.
First Officer Floyd Dorsey.
Excellent.
Security
he was
officer,
the captain before.
Yes. Security Officer Mike Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
Communication Officer Tim Cooper.
All right.
Porthos could be Justin Ozer. Our engineer Mark Flessa. And who else do I got here? Who else do I got to do? What other?
Did we do engineer or security?
Engineer Chris Tribuzio, and Jim McMahon. You could be chef. Awesome. I'm sure I missed another important position in there because it was just going off the cuff. But guys, we greatly appreciate your support. We definitely couldn't do it without you. So thank you so very much for supporting Warp 5 and Trek FM on a whole.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening, and keep calm and boom on.